Hi, everyone. Merry Christmas. It is December 28th, 10 a.m. And just over the weekend, late yesterday, Sunday evening, the Stimulus Act that Congress had been working on for a few weeks now was signed into law. And so we're going to go through the business impacts in brief real quick. So the PPP expenses are now deductible, whether that was a 2020 forgiveness or 2021 forgiveness. So everyone can breathe a sigh of relief there. And that's a big win for small businesses that took out a PPP loan. There could be a small impact in terms of basis for certain S Corp entities that took out a PPP loan and may have had a loss otherwise. So you want to, if that impacts you, you want to touch base with your CPA tax return time next year on that. The PPP second round is part of this new stimulus law. We'll go into what that looks like on the next slide here. But it's going to open up a second round of PPP loans for businesses that can show an impact of 25% or greater drop in gross receipts comparing any quarter in 2020 versus 2019. And that includes the fourth quarter, which is wrapping up in a couple days here. Quick note, you don't have to have forgiveness from round one to get a loan for round two. So there's no urgency if you haven't gotten your loan forgiven for round one to get it in so you can get a second one. You can apply for a second round even before showing forgiveness for round one. The FFCRA was extended through the first quarter. That's the Family's First Coronavirus Act that was provided credits for employers that gave their employees time off to quarantine if they were feeling unhealthy and thought they needed a test and had COVID or were ordered by or impacted from a school closure, all kinds of things in that program. They did not provide additional time off per employee, but they did extend to where if that impacts an employee into the first quarter, that the employer can claim that credit for paying out time off to that employee to quarantine. The employee retention credit program has been changed considerably in the stimulus law. It was one of the two programs from the first CARES Act in March that really didn't take off because when it was launched, it was either PPP or the ERC that an employer could choose, and the majority took the PPP loans. They've changed the program now to where you can retroactively go back to 2020 and try to overlap and claim credits for employee retention for certain businesses, but there's a lot of rules wrapped around that we're trying to wrap our head around and still have questions on now. But the program is going to be something that we believe, if an employer qualifies, is really a good program to take a look at and has some money in there as well to keep businesses that were impacted negatively afloat, frankly. So we'll probably have another video and some emails on the employee retention credit. So please stay tuned on that one. Finally, the meals deductions. There was in 2017 tax law that was passed. Business meals you were only eligible to deduct 50% of the value of business meals. That has been changed for 21 and 22 to try to stimulate the economy, I presume. The PPP second round, so this is the meat and potatoes of what we think a lot of people will be asking questions about. So the loan amount on the second round, very similar to the first round, is going to be 2.5 times your average monthly total monthly payroll cost. And they're going to look at 2019 and effectively 2020 for that program. And taking the lesser on this second round of those two and multiplying it by 2.5, as I said earlier. That definition for payroll costs is the same as in round one. Now, there's an exception for accommodations and I believe food service, those that are qualified under the NAICS 72 buckets. Those entities can get 3.5 times average monthly total payroll cost, and the greater of, not the lesser of. Now, to get the PPP second rounds, you're going to have to show a 25% reduction in gross receipts for any quarter period from 2020 versus 2019. And it's on a strictly quarter basis. So January, February, March, April, May, June, so on and so forth, including the fourth quarter, which is wrapping up. So you want to make sure you look at how you close out the books for the fourth quarter to make sure that they're in line and no mistakes were made for that comparison. We'll be looking to see what the lenders, we have a webinar, as we mentioned, we'll be asking what, at that point, hopefully we have some details from Treasury. What are the lenders going to be asking for to substantiate that reduction in gross receipts? Finally, there's a couple other points. They've also put into the law a program to make the application for smaller loans, those under 150,000, much more streamlined, trying to get those sole proprietors to apply for a second round, those that are all kinds of industries that were negatively impacted that haven't been able to recover yet. Smaller businesses getting these PPP second rounds. So they should have a streamlined one-page application. The lenders are supposed to make it easier for the smaller loans to get approved and out the door. We'll have more details on that by that webinar. Also, some seasonal employer definitions have been locked in the law, and some means for employers that were not operational for the entirety of 2019 or that started, let's say, in early 2020, for them to still be able to participate, even though how do you show a reduction if you weren't in business prior? So there is a means in there in the law, which we'll cover in the webinar to see if that impacts you. Anyway, everyone have a good day. Close out the good year. We're here to help, and wish everyone a safe new year.